Anyway, all right, so let's go start off. So we have our 2-drop Prismatic Aegis Vegetas. These are just a classic card that I think you just include in the deck. When you charge them, they will go ahead and bot deck a card in your opponent's hand, and then they will draw one. Now, of course, this only happens if you're on your 2 energy turns onward. So turn 1, if you charge this guy, it won't do that. If you play him out, he draws you 2, and then you bot deck, I think it's 1. So that's cool. It draws. You'll probably never really do that. Honestly, you'll probably just charge him, but I mean, you might play him out too. Then you got Bardock Prismatic Aegis. This guy is actually super good. You'll probably, again, never play him. You'll almost always charge him. But when you charge him, he negs your opponent's battle cards by 2k for each color. So ideally, you want to charge him, like, not necessarily last, because you do want to get the counterplays off. But if you could charge him last, you can neg something 10, and then you could neg 30 off the Gogeta. So you can actually get rid of SCRs with using him, and the Gogeta we'll get to later. It was the way to deal with Gogeta blue and yellow when that was terrorizing people. You would just use this guy, and then you'd use the 8-drop Gogeta and just neg at 40, and it's uninteractable. They can't do anything about it. Was one of my favorite things to do with this deck. Then we're running 2 Prismatic Aegis Gokus. When you charge these guys, they will neg out the skills on something that is 4 play cost or less, so you can make some of the annoying cards people run skillless. So that's cool. These little effects are very toolboxy, so as you're playing through this deck, the Aegis cards are, I think, a must. I don't know why you wouldn't run them, but yeah. Then you've got the Gohan Prismatic Aegis, which is probably incredibly important in this meta, like more so than he's ever been. So when you charge him, you can snipe a marker off something that's got 3 or more markers, unison specifically. And that's, yeah, nowadays with Z unisons, I think that he's probably way more important than he used to be, because people are testing them out. Next, gonna run probably the most important, like, low to the ground combo in the deck. We have 4 of the Prismatic Aegis or Prismatic Radiance Vegetas, which have been errata. The errata is kind of irrelevant. The combo is still the same. Basically, on your 3 energy turn, when you have 4 or more colors, you'll be able to play this guy out. But they basically made it so it's limited to, like, the Bardock deck, which I don't know why anybody would run this outside of Bardock and how it would work. But I guess you theoretically could. So when you play this guy down, you pick up an energy. You play down another body that's 2-drop or less, and then you drop down an energy. You only put down the energy, though, if you have the 3 or more or 4 or more colors, so basically turn 3, and it comes down standing, so that's really cool. So that's what he does. He's a 10k body if you have 2 or less energy, or 2 or less black, non-black colors present among your multicolor energy. So again, in a perfect world, basically turn 2 backwards, he's 10k, turn 2 onward, or past turn 2, so turn 3, he's got his full 16k. Then we have Prismatic Aegis Goku. Literally the most important card in this deck. Your turn 1 is scuffed if you don't see this. Generally speaking, you basically have to see it turn 1. If you don't, then the rest of the game might be a little rough. Because he'll search you the top 5 when you play him, but also he's gonna make your leader 11k on your opponent's turn. That's part of why you want him turn 1. And also he's gonna give you access to Awakening significantly faster, because he's like the only guy you can play by tapping 1 energy. Everything else, you're paying the amounts you see. So he's like your only 1-drop body in the standard deck. His other skill, his activate main, if you have 2 or more energy, so turn 2 onward, you add them back to your hand. Then you can play a 3-drop SS4 Arrested. You'll do that often enough to basically play out the 3 drops that will then disappear to play out this guy. And you can kind of have a cycle going. But yeah, most important card in the deck. Then, I know I'm not just playing one of this. Hold on, there's a card missing somewhere. Because I'm pretty sure there are 2 in this deck. Did I drop him? There's the SS4 Bardock Prismatic Radiance. But maybe I am only playing 1 at the moment, and the other one's in my side deck for some reason. Give me 1 second, we can check. Because that's entirely possible. right. Well, there should be 2. I don't know where the other one is. It's probably fallen somewhere behind my desk, but we'll find it. So right now, there should be 2 of the Prismatic Radiance Bardock. This Bardock's really cool. He came from the Anti-Box. So he's got Barrier, which is pretty important. If you've got 4 or more non-black colors present, so basically your 4 energy, you can actually send 1 Vermilion, SS4 Vermilion Saiyans from your hand to the warp. Then you can put this guy in the drop, and you'll basically be able to activate your Vermilion Saiyans, activate main effect, and then get it back at the end of the turn. So you can flood board and then still have defense on your opponent's turn. His other really cool effect is the limit 1, you rest him. You choose one of your SS4s, you give a dual attack. Ideally, you're going to do this to your SS4 Gogetas. Or Vegito, now that he's a thing that you can do in the deck. Whew. Also, guys, if I'm like talking too fast, let me know. Next, we have 4 SS4 Prismatic Burst Gohans. Awesome negate, especially when you're dealing with single color, monocolor decks. You pay 1. You can only do this for a turn when there's when there are 3 or more black multicolored cards in your battle area and or energy area. Yes. So he's also another way that you can, the Goku can make it so you can take advantage of this a little earlier as well, because it's between your battle area and your energy area. So remember that if you want to counterplay, you have to have 3 or more. And then what it's going to do is your opponent can only swing with battle cards or unisons equal to the amount of energy, like colors, in their energy. So if you're playing a monocolored deck and you negate the leader swing, your opponent only gets 1 swing for the rest of the turn. He's really good. Run him at 4. He's good. Next, one of the other really crazy cards in this deck, the Bardock, Prismatic Burst. So he's a counterplay. You can only play him from turn 2 onward, and then you tap 1 black energy, you take a life. He's going to counterplay 20k or less. So unlike your Super Kamehamehas, all that kind of stuff, it's got like a much bigger threshold in terms of their DP or battle power. So, and this is also really good against U7. In the U7 matchup, run 4, because you can hit that annoying ass Goku, the 4-drop barrier Goku that's gonna slowly melt away your life. He's really good. I only run him at 3 right now to make space for the SS4 Vegito and some of the other stuff. Normally I run him at 4. Then we got the Prismatic Burst Vegetas. We're only running 2. He's the one you're going to use in tandem with the Prismatic Burst, Prismatic Radiance. You're also going to use this guy probably as just like combo piece to put him in the Z deck or Z energy. So what this guy's going to do, you're going to, when he's out on the board, you're going to pay 1. You can put him in the warp, and then you can play out the 2-drop Vegeta or any 2-drop in your hand that's SS4, and kind of keep extending your plays. And then he'll come back to your hand at the end of the turn. The other thing to keep in mind too, there's another way you can play this, not just off of these attacks. You can use him in a combo. I haven't done this in so long, I actually have to reread the card. So if your leader's a Black Saiyan and there's a total of 3 or more energy between you and your opponent, at the end of the battle that you use this guy in a combo, you can pay 1, you can play him from the drop and rest mode. And you'd really only do that to pay a 1 again to put him in the warp and play out something else. You probably won't do that often. You'll really just use the Goku combo the Goku combo to play him out. You've got Prismatic Burst Goku. He does the same thing. It's the same thing as Vegeta. I think the only difference to note with him is he can actually negate the skills on your opponent's unisons, which is really important in the current meta. It's a skill that I always forget is there, and it negates it for the turn. So that could be really helpful. The Vegeta, he actually bounces something that's 3 costs or less. Playing 1, counterplay, Goku and Vegeta. I used to have him at 2, but I bumped him down to 1. He's very situational, but he's very good because if you get out the Z Unison and you have these 2 cards in your hand, you're basically counterplaying anything your opponent does. He's hitting 20Ks, and he's hitting, on his auto, he's hitting 5 cost or less. Together, these cards are gross. And if there was more room in the deck, I would probably try to figure out a way to run them more, but they're gross. We're running SS4 Vegeta Heat Defying Spirit. He explains himself. You overwhelm 6, you warp off an opponent's battle card. He's just a good 30k overwhelm body. We're running 3 of the SS4 Vegetos. He's going to do the same for you as Gogeta, except he's got barrier. So he's a 30k, and he only costs you 1. So he's a 30k body with barrier, and he's a blocker. The easiest way to play him, you do your whole shenanigans with Prismatic Radiance, who's going to play out this Prismatic Radiance Goku. You swing, you pay 1, and you go into this guy on top, and you swing again for a 30 double. Then his other skill is a limit 1 burst 2. At the end of your turn, you restand him, so you can have a blocker on your opponent's turn. You don't want to do this if you're looking for cards still, because luck-wise, you might hit something you're really looking for, like your SCR, your 10 drop, something. So there are times where you may not want to use his burst skill to restand him, but again, he's good. It makes the deck so much more aggro and so much earlier. Then another big aggro piece here. You've got your SS3 Gogeta, Authority of the Dark Empire. He's a standard, I think, in any black deck. The benefit with him, though, is you'll actually be able to fuse from your warp once you overwhelm something, presumably this guy or something else, or this guy. And you have a 25k double striker that removes bodies that don't have barrier. I think that's just genuinely good. Next, you have an optional card. I don't think Dan runs this in his version. This is SS4 Gogeta, Authority of the Dark Empire. I love him because he's additional barrier removal. The fact he costs 4 can be painful sometimes, but other times, being able to say, cool, I'm going to pay 4 for this body that's going to rip 2 cards from my opponent's hand, kill 2 things on the board ignoring barrier, and have triple strike, or triple attack, sorry, and blocker is pretty nice. But I don't think he's a necessity. If you don't want to run him, there are plenty of other really good options. How you could just increase some of your ratios over here if you want to, but I like him. Plus, I just love the artwork. I mean, look at it. It's Gogeta doing a Big Bang Kamehameha. Like, how is that not cool? Anyway, next, we're running the old, I would say, sub-boss monster of the deck. You have the Gogeta, Indomitable Might. Amazing. He is basically a free super combo thanks to your leader's skill. He's a 30k body with double strike. He's going to bean your leader until the end of your opponent's turn, and he's going to warp something out of your opponent's hand and neg 2 bodies 30k. These two together are disgusting. And your opponent's going to hate you having to deal with both of them. Y'all just saw in the game I had with Dan. They're pain. It's pain back to back because they're literally the same body. One just has blocker and barrier. The other one is killing things on the board when it's played and beating your leader. They're really good. So run 4. Run no less than 4. Even if you just use them as super combos, they're good. Next, I'm running 2 of the Prismatic Burst Gogetas because I used to run it at 1 when I changed the deck with the Vegito stuff, and I just found that 1, I just wasn't seeing it enough. It was either at the bottom of my deck, I couldn't find the damn thing, or it was like somewhere in my life, I just couldn't see it. So I run it at 2. It's a good card. It's got quad strike, and then it does a bunch of things for you when you play it. It based on the amount of colors you have in your energy. Ideally, by the time you play it, everything's going to trigger. So it's going to deal a damage. It's going to draw you 3 cards. It's going to make your opponent discard 2 cards. You get to rest 1 card on your opponent's board. So you're just going to rest the energy, presumably, because why wouldn't you? And then it's going to warp 2 battle cards on your opponent's side. And then he's going to swing for 35 quad. He's a great finisher. And even if you don't need to swing, your goal really is to get your opponent down to 1 life, play him, and just insta-win and be done. That's the ideal situation. Next, we got the super combos. So we got 3 of the Super Saiyan Vegeta Prince Strikes Back. He's just the good black super combo. And because he's a Vegeta, you can use him. Not that you're ever going to union here, but like he's a Vegeta Xeno. So if there's any cards that require his name, you can use him. There's nothing in the deck currently that does, but in the future, he will hit that name requirement for you. So if there's anything that needs it, you can use it for the Vegeta. Lastly, we have, as in terms of battle cards, we have the Supreme Kai of Time, Prism Bringer. She is another super combo. I like this one because if you got all the colors, it's an 11k buff. And sometimes that 11k matters quite a bit. All right, then we're going to go into extra cards supporting the Dark Empire. It's a token negate. Run it. Petrification. I would argue it's the best disruptive negate in the game. I would argue. Some people may have a different opinion. Oh, I just realized, guys, you can't see it on the screen. I'll put it here. I would argue it's like the best negate, especially in black. Negate something and then stun something else. It's good. We got one Kraken Space-Time. Generic black card. If you're playing a deck with a black Saiyan leader, you should be playing a Kraken Space-Time, because why not? It's a double strike, 15k buff. Why wouldn't you do it? Then we're going to look at the Unison. This is totally optional. I'm playing one SS4 Bardock Spirit Resonance simply because it draws me a card every turn. The energy marker made it so playing this guy out is super easy. You pop your marker and you play him and you can draw. Hell, you could technically do this on your turn 1 now with the energy marker. If you went, I guess if you go second, you can play him out and you're now able to draw cards, and then you're able to start floodgating your opponent as well, which is really cool. He basically does the same thing basically as the SSB Vegito. They're both going to be a significant draw engine for the deck. Then lastly, the SCR we play is the SS4 Vermilion Saiyans. I think it's the best SCR on the deck for this deck. Evil Saiyan is great if you have it, but if you can get your hands on a Vermilion Saiyans, do it. I think it evolves the deck way beyond what Evil Saiyan can be, just because Evil Saiyan, you're not overwhelming, you're not getting stuff into your drop in the same way. It just isn't going to work as well as it would in some other decks. So get this if you can. Lastly, we're going to look at the Z deck. This is pretty straightforward, I think. One surmounting. I find a lot with this deck, I struggle to get below 4 life because I've usually killed my opponent by the time I'm at 5. Or I've put them in a really compromising position. And now I have to wait for them to swing at me to use my super combos, and I hate it. So that's why surmounting is in here. One Mighty Blast. Who doesn't want a 10k buff out of nowhere? It's a good, I think, just standard card. Majin Buu, Pure Destroyer. This guy's great. He's a blocker. You play him out. You can drop his energy. You can eat something on your opponent's board every turn. So it's nice removal, and he's a blocker, so your opponent's going to have to respond to it in some way, shape, or form if they don't want their cards eaten every turn and if they don't want to deal with an annoying blocker. Next, we're running SS4 Goku, cross-dimensional fighting spirit. He's kind of like a Overrealm in this deck in a lot of ways, in the sense that he's going to do the same thing as this Vegeta. He's going to hit the board, warp something off. Then your activate main, you're going to drop 10 cards from your drop or your warp, like remove him from the game. He's going to climb to 25k and be a double striker. So he's like, if all else fails and like all of your other attacks aren't working, you could always play this guy down and sometimes just close out the entire game. It's beautiful. I'm kind of losing my voice. Sorry, guys. Next, we're playing 3 of the most important Z card in the entire deck. The SS4 Goku and Vegeta Radiant Fusion. These guys have deflect. They hit the board, and they will warp off an opponent's 3 cost or less, ignoring barrier, which is like your only barrier removal outside of this and your SCR. So just keep that in mind. Like if you're not playing this, your only barrier removal is this guy and your SCR, and that's when they swing at you. So if you want to consider putting Cumbers in this deck for barrier removal, that is not a bad idea. Because other than that, you ain't got it. So what they're going to do is they're going to hit the board, you're going to remove him from the game, and then they're going to reduce the cost by 3 for your 8 and 10 cost Gogetas. So he'll make this Gogeta free, and then they'll make your 10 cost 2. Never swing with them, because they will probably die. You're going to play them, and then you're going to let them disappear. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure they're dead. Then our last one is the Vegito Blue, Unison Sparks. So this guy, he works in this deck. He's not required. It's something that Dan and I have been testing. And in testing, it's been really cool when you can get it off. But it's not the focus of the deck, unlike Vegito, right? Like, you're not going to be trying to get this out turn 2 every game, because you don't really need to. But it's very good. So when this guy swings, you're going to go ahead and add 2 cards from your warp underneath them to gain a marker. And that's fine. It's whatever. The other thing is his activate main. You're going to drop 1 to draw a card. Drop one of the cards underneath him. You're really playing this to enable the counterplay. The counterplay is free if you have a black Z Unison with 2 markers. So until we get more black Z Unisons, this is the only option you have to utilize this guy. So we might get more Black Z Unisons that are really good, that make it so that maybe you do run 3 of these guys, because the other Black Z Unison, I don't know, it's like it costs you 1 to play or something to where it's easy to play it out. But yeah, guys, that is the deck. That's a simple breakdown. There's plenty of videos on the channel of us playing with it. Like I said, Dan's version is slightly different, but for the most part, strategically, they're very similar. It's just that they kind of accommodate Dan and I's variation in playstyle. But I'm going to shut up for a second and let Dan kind of talk about any differences that his deck, like standout differences that you may want to flag, Dan.
Yeah, so I think mine, I'm like looking at yours, I have 1, 2, I think 3 or 4 cards maybe different. SCR is still the same. I still run 2 of the 10 drops. I don't run the thwarting, the 8 drop, for the reasons that you said. It's like I know it's good barrier removal, but it's like the way that my play style is, obviously you guys just saw, is like just like hit hard and fast with like cheap bodies. So just trying to spend my 4 energy turn on playing that. It's like, you know, I think it would be a good side deck card. I have it in the side deck, so like if you're playing against something that you think you might need, you can definitely side it in. I'm only playing 2 of the Bardock counters, but the reason is because I've maxed out my Vegeta Goku counters from this new set. So I'm playing 4 of those because I'm also playing 3 of the Z Unison. So my deck does revolve a little bit more around the Z Unison. I don't play it out turn 2. I usually play it turn 3. Just because that's usually when I'm restanding an energy. So it doesn't feel so bad of wasting the 2 energy to play it, because I usually restand 1 anyways. But everything else, I think... Oh, I do play the 1 Beyond All Limits. I like the Goku Beyond All Limits for a couple things. Number 1, it can recycle your thwarting, because the thwarting, the SS3 Gogeta is limited. So once you use it or it gets removed, you can Beyond All Limits and bring it back. Same thing with your Vegetos. If your Vegetos hit the wall or something, like they're gone, you can bring those back. So I just like that Goku in there is basically just like an extra copy kind of each of all those. And then to top it all off, it enables your Vegeta Fighting Spirit to play for 1. And then not only do you still get the Warp Body and all that, it gets crit as well. So what's a crazy combo is like you can Beyond All Limits, then pay 1, play the Vegeta Fighting Spirit. That's 2 30k hits, one of them being crit, and then you can pay 1, and then Union Potara, the 2 of them, into a 30k barrier Vegito. So you do all of that for just 2 energies. So that's why I like that combo there. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think our decks are literally, I'd have to say probably 94 to 95%
the same. Yeah.
Can you play thwarting with the ZX or the Z battle card?
No,
like Union
because
no.
because the thwarting, it's got to be from your hand.
Sorry.
Talk about the Vegeta?
The 8 drop.
Oh, the 8.
Oh, no, because it's got to go to the drop. Is the cost?
Yes.
No, it just reduces the skill cost by 3.
Wait. So okay, so what are we talking about?
Oh no, he's talking about
the Z battle card.
Oh no! It's not gonna reduce it. It's not gonna reduce it because it has to be. It's
a multicolor 8 or or a mono black 10.
Yeah,
and that's a mono black 8, so it doesn't qualify.
Okay.
Yeah. So they did that on purpose so that you couldn't run it.
That's rude as fuck, dude.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I don't run it in the main, just because it's like it's not that easy to get out. So it's like I'll side 1 copy of it just because it's like depending on the matchup, or if I really think I'm gonna need it, then I'll throw it in and like I can just take out 1 card, it's no big deal. But yeah, for me it doesn't come up all that often. I just don't want to spend that much energy on that, like on a defensive, like more of a defensive card is my thing.
Yeah.
Probably better to run another 10 drop if you're gonna do that, probably.
Well, that's why I run. Like I said, that's why I run. We both
cost,
run 2.
Right? It ends up being 4 with the for the 10.
Yes, technically, because you pay 2 for the Z
yeah.
and then pay 2. Yeah, so they both end up playing as 4. The biggest difference though is like Agent was saying is that the 8 drop is your barrier removal. So like there's nothing else in the deck that removes something ignoring barrier. So even though they cost the same, it's just situational, right? So if you play out the 8 drop for 4 and you need to get rid of something with barrier, it'll do that. So
now,
that's the big thing.
To keep in mind though, your turn 5, when you have 5 energy, these two together is disgusting. because you'll play this guy. He'll put the 2 in the warp from your hand or your drop, and once they're in the warp, you can play this guy because they're all the same battle power, and you can have another 25k double as well. So like if things aren't going your way, like you didn't see the Gogeta or like you didn't see something, these 2 together is pretty gross.
Yeah.
Add on the overwhelm on top of it if you wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
Like for me, if to side that out, because I play 4 of the new counterplays, I'd probably just like side out one of the counterplays and just put the 8-drop in there.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that, because like I'm already playing 1, 2, 3, 7 overwhelms, so like I'm not going to be overwhelming that much in one game. And realistically, I'm not going to be counterplaying 4 times, especially because I still play Bardock counterplays. So yeah, you could easily just side out. In my list, anyways, you could easily just side out one of the counterplays and just put that in.
Yeah.
And be done. So, what is your? I know, like you just doing it, like laying it out there. Do you know how many your list is at? Like
I think it's 53.
Like count.
I can actually just quickly check the actual. I guess I could count it real quick, but I can check on .dev or Deck Planet.
Okay, mine's at 55. That's all I was asking, because they're, like I said, they're pretty close. But I think you are running a couple less cards than me, so you might be a little bit lower.
No, mine's 55 as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta find this other Bardock. Like I might have dropped it, but like there should be another Bardock. Like I thought there should be 2. So I'm like, I don't know where the hell the other one is. So I'm missing a card. I don't know where it is though.
So basically, you're running 1 more Vegito than me. You're running the 8-drop thwarting. You're running and 1 more Bardock counterplay. Those 3 cards right there are the 3 the new counterplays, because you're only playing 1. That brings me to 4. That's the only difference in the entire deck. That's the difference.
And then side deck, guys. So I'm putting Topo in here because it's a counter attack. It's good. Tyrannus cost because FU7. Or things that draw a lot of things. Quoits, I think that's just a standard. It's Quoits. Protector of the people. When people want to get super aggressive, like Vegito, that's kind of your answer. To be honest, you can negate it and then just keep climbing, especially if you're 20 base from this guy. Mutaito, just good yellow counter. You could also put Nimbus in your side deck. Pilaf Shumai, standard, just good card. I'm actually running 2 Super Kamehamehas in the side deck. Just for certain situations where, like, they're going to be playing a lot of low to the ground bodies that are annoying. Also against black because of Oceanus, Super Kamehameha is good. And then I've got another SS4 Bardock Prismatic Radiance or Spirit Resonance, just in case I want to run 2 Unisons for whatever reason. A 3rd Petrification, and then my 4th Prismatic Burst. I think it's a pretty standard.
Why Topo?
Just because it's a floodgate. It's an additional floodgate option. Because if you're multicolored, Gohan doesn't. You don't care about Gohan. I just have to rest 2 red, and now you just strip cards out of your hand when you want to keep swinging.
That to me is for like the longer games, like games that are going on a little bit longer.
Yeah. When you know you're gonna
your 4 energy, you passed your 4 energy charge, so like your 5th energy is gonna just be most likely a double of something else, and maybe you charge a 2nd red. Then you can pay the 2 red, and then if you swing with your leader, you just restand 1 of the red to have your red live. Yeah, no, I think it's not bad. The only downside I'll say to Topo, and it's like that with anywhere he plays, is that you have to discard the 2 cards before you play it.
Yeah.
And if they counterplay it, then you don't get the floodgate, unfortunately. But
Isn't
more
Topo's in
likely,
the auto? Isn't Topo's in the auto?
Yes, but it's choose 1 other card in your hand, place it in your drop, then negate the attack and play this card. So if they have a way to prevent it from being played, then you don't get the floodgate.
Yeah.
Because it says when this card is played. Yeah. So you have to.
If they countered it, you wouldn't have to discard. That's what it was.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So the difference, I was actually looking to see, because you have that one, and then the similar counterattack is the Unadulterated Malice. The Boo, you only have to discard if the card actually hits the board, but it's specific to a green leader, so you can't use it. So.
Yeah.
Oceanus is the same thing.
Yeah. So
but hers,
they're really
you have to discard no matter what. as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
as a one-of side for like I said, like those longer matchups that like you want to try to just continue to control your opponent's hand type of thing, or like slow them down. I think Topo's a really good option.
I honestly
Yeah.
thought about putting Hit in a cooler build with Heroic Prospect just for funsies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of counterproductive to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
'Cause
Bardock's insane. Bardock is a
Yeah.
very, very good
It's a
deck.
good deck, man.
Oh, yeah.
There he is. I don't know why it's not sleeved, but there it is. Unless, did I take out? Hold on, let me pull up my list again. No,
I would
that's
say
all.
personally for me, like as much as I played Bardock, and so you could probably attest to this because you played it way more than I have. I feel like the only complicated part about playing Bardock is because it's so toolboxy. You just kind of have to see like what situation that you're in and what is needed in that moment. Like versus obviously what you have available to you, like in hand and all that. But like kind of like what does the situation call for? Like what should I play in the moment, and then just go with that. But because you have so many options, it's crazy.
Yeah, Bardock is all matchups, man. Bardock requires so much matchup knowledge that I would argue is why I love the deck so much too, because there's definitely a skill gap in the deck, or a skill ceiling in the deck, whatever you want to call it, because it requires you to play a lot of games to know your game plan and to know the game plan of a lot of decks that are running around. If you don't, it's going to be a difficult time, which isn't a bad thing, right? Like you can learn all that shit, but like, yeah, it's a deck that requires you to learn how things work, which is why I think it's so much fun.
I will say I'll leave my closing thought with this for anybody who's like, because there was somebody that was talking about bringing it to a regional or whatever. Bardock is I've only ever played in one regional, and Bardock was the deck that I played in. Mind you, this was back in November of last year, so it was before this set with Vegito and everything came out. The anti-box had just come out, but even before all this. And for my first regional and not really playing super competitive DBS yet, I walked out of there with a winning record. So like the deck is definitely like worth the time to give it a go at a competitive event. I think it's definitely meta viable for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the best thing about it, man, is people still don't know what the fuck the cards do. so like your opponents are still not knowing your game plan. That's the best thing sometimes I think when you play these rogue decks is your opponents are like looking at you like, huh? What? Huh? And they don't know. They don't know. Like when people don't know about the 10 drop and the fact that it can just one shot you if you have one life. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's like when like you. So what's crazy is like a lot of times what'll happen is like, especially now, like let's say with the Vegito, right, that has barrier and they can't remove it right away or whatever. They have 2 life left, and you go in with that 30k double strike and like, all right, cool, I'm just gonna token negate and just take down my 1 life, and now whatever you try to swing with for your last swing, I'll just block. I'll just play down the 10 drop now, just burn your life, you don't have to worry about it. So yeah, it's like plays like that you have to like just kind of recognize and take opportunity of. But yeah, it's crazy. And then the fact that, like you were saying, all of the Aegis stuff has like answers to stuff, and now that like unisons are kind of having a resurgence, and like the leader itself can hit unisons. And your Gohan Prismatic Aegis hits unisons, like. It just keeps a lot of those decks in check. So
honestly, Bardock into Vegito is probably crazy because Bardock, depending upon turn order, right, every time he swings is gonna snipe a marker off that unison. Anytime you pick up and charge that Gohan, you can snipe them unison. You can probably get them down to like below 2 markers to not have to worry about the counterplay pretty quickly. It just kind of depends on how quickly the Bardock player is able to awaken and get those colors down and on the board, right? But you could have all 4 colors by like turn 2, depending upon your luck.
I think what's interesting about that matchup specifically is because Vegito, you can ramp up your markers so fast. That don't have answers to unisons, that they play out the 6 drop usually for free by like turn 4. That you can keep, like I said, you keep that in check, right? Like they're not able to necessarily do that. So.
Yeah, you gotta slow them down. So we'll see. That's a matchup we'll have to test because I don't think we've even done that yet.
I was just about to say that. I wonder why we haven't done that yet.
because I've been on my invoker kick.
That is true. That is true. We'll have to run that at least once and see.
Oh yeah, we can do it tomorrow.
Obviously, I was gonna say I'm comfortable enough with Bardock. I think I can do that, and of course, you got Vegito locked down. So
yeah,
I think it'll be a solid enough matchup. I think.
Oh yeah, and we can see how that goes. But yeah, guys, I hope that was helpful. Like I said, I probably shouldn't be eating at 1 o'clock in the morning, but your boy's starving, so I'm gonna get some food, decompress.